So people who don't understand the DNA of your pain assume falsely that you're arrogant. And they don't know I'm not arrogant, I'm just guarded.
Crystal posts a cry for help on Facebook last year saying, "Please know if something happens to me, Tom Mallory did it."
New tonight at 11, we're hearing from the family of a woman shot and killed outside of the Spalding County Courthouse. And tonight, the daughter of Crystal Evans says her mother did not have to die.
The sheriff department the day before, because he was stalking her, she even showed them that the PTO that she was granted for life Wednesday from the divorce, and they did nothing. Had they had someone walked out with her, like, her friend asked, she would still be here.
She did everything that society tells victims to do. She left her abuser. She filed for divorce. She asked for help over and over again. She warned people. She documented the danger. She even posted publicly on Facebook, saying that if anything ever happened to her, Tom Mallory was responsible. She was trying to protect herself the only way she knew how, by telling the truth and hoping someone would listen. But on September 12, 2024, just days after finally breaking free, Crystal Evans was shot and killed outside the very courthouse where she had gone seeking protection. A place meant to represent safety, justice, and accountability instead became the scene of her final moments. Today, we're examining how a system designed to protect victims of domestic violence failed this 44-year-old mother, and how her daughter, Precious, is now fighting to make sure her mother's death was not meaningless.
She was so happy after her divorce. She felt free. We were even talking about doing a party.
However,
This is not just another true crime story. This is a wake-up call. A painful reminder of the gaps in our domestic violence protection system, gaps that continue to cost lives. Through court records, interviews, and exclusive insights from those closest to Crystal, we will uncover the warning signs that were ignored, the desperate pleas for help that went unanswered, and the decisions that allowed a predictable tragedy to unfold. We will also explore the changes that could prevent future victims from meeting the same fate. Because Crystal Evans' story isn't just about one woman who was killed. It's about every person living in fear right now, wondering whether their cries for help will be heard before it's too late. What makes this case even more chilling is that Crystal seemed to predict her own death, and those with the power to intervene stood by as her worst fears became reality. This story takes us to Griffin, Georgia, a small city known for its historic charm and close-knit community. Located about an hour south of Atlanta, Griffin is home to a quaint downtown filled with antique shops, tree-lined streets, and stunning antebellum architecture that reflects its deep Southern heritage. It's the kind of place where people know each other, where faces are familiar, and where tragedies ripple deeply through the community. Crystal Evans was a vibrant, courageous 44-year-old woman who was deeply devoted to her adult children, who were the center of her world. She loved fiercely and openly, always putting family first. Professionally, Crystal was a respected real estate agent, passionate about helping people find not just houses, but homes.
Look, I'm a good woman and I love Jesus, but honey, I'm still crazy, so please be careful whenever you address me. Look, I'm a good woman.
Your dream. I don't care if you don't have the money, you don't have the help, and you don't have the background for it, and you don't have the friends for it. Don't you give up on your dream, don't you?
Personally, she was known for her warmth, her compassion, and an infectious spirit that made people feel instantly at ease. Friends and family remember Crystal as someone with a huge heart and an unwavering love for animals, especially her beloved cats, whom she doted on like children. Videos and messages captured her gentle affection, moments of tenderness that reflected the nurturing soul she carried through life.
What you see there? You see the bubbles?
But behind the warmth and smiles was a darker reality. One central figure loomed over Crystal's life, her estranged husband, Tom Mallory. Their relationship began with hope and promise on November 15, 2000. What once looked like a partnership slowly deteriorated into a disturbing pattern of control, manipulation, and abuse. Crystal often turned to social media to document what she was enduring. In one post, she openly confronted Tom's infidelity, exposing the betrayal and emotional torment she suffered. She wrote with raw honesty, calling out his secret affairs and double life, expressing the pain and humiliation of discovering the truth. By February 2023, Crystal had filed for a temporary protective order against Tom, citing severe harassment and abuse.
So God says to men, he says, I will bless you. Check this out, brothers. This is big. This is big. He says, I will bless you according to how you treat your woman. He says, I will answer your prayers according to how you treat your wife. Because the real test is how you handle power.
In court documents, she described terrifying incidents, including Tom entering her home without permission and, most disturbingly, an alleged attempt to bury her alive. These were not vague fears. These were specific, documented threats. Throughout this time, Crystal repeatedly reached out to police and the legal system, desperately seeking protection. Yet despite her efforts, despite the paper trail and the warnings, the danger never truly went away. Everything came to a head on September 13, 2024. On that day, Crystal and Tom appeared in court to address ongoing legal disputes, including domestic violence charges against him. During the hearing, a judge issued a warrant for Tom's arrest, but allowed him until the following Monday night to turn himself in, a decision that would prove fatal. Just 2 days earlier, on September 11th, Crystal had finalized her divorce. Those close to her say she felt free for the first time in years. She was making plans. She was looking forward to celebrating the start of a new chapter. She believed she had survived the worst.
Hell yeah, I'm a queen. So you know what that means. I water my own grass so it always stays green. And I keep my crown on even if it's unseen. See, royalty is in my blood. I'm blessed, but I still get it out the mud. I got God's plan, that's real love. So failure ain't even something I'm thinking of. The purpose in me is far too great to sit and hope and wish and wait. A queen expands what she creates, walking fearlessly towards her divine fate. I'm a monarch, and I know how to fly. When y'all go low, I'm already on high. When y'all try me, there's no need for a reply. I see and feel everything through my third eye. On days when I feel like I don't fit the genre, I hype myself up when I really don't wanna. Reminding my soul, you're beautiful, mama. You got a nice ass and some good fucking karma. Some days we'll have to adjust our crown. It starts to slip when we feel like we're down. Plant your feet in the earth and find solid ground. You're a queen, baby girl. Go make yourself proud. Hell yeah, I'm a queen. So you know what that means. I water my own grass so it always...
On September 13, 2024, Crystal Evans went to the Spalding County Courthouse for what should have been an ordinary part of her workday. As a real estate professional, she was scheduled to attend an eviction hearing, routine business, nothing out of the ordinary. There was no indication that this day would end her life. To Crystal, this was just another step forward in a future she believed she was finally free to live.
This is not a regular girl. This is a girl who went through hell so that she could bring heaven into her family. This is not a regular woman. I speak against regular. I speak against normal. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. You got a personal relationship with God. He knows something about you that made him say, I need to set you apart. I need to sanctify you. And I thank you, God, that you're going to call this woman to invade culture.
At approximately 12:30 p.m., Crystal exited the courthouse and walked toward her car, which was parked along 6th Street near the building. The courthouse was busy, deputies were nearby, and everything appeared normal. What Crystal didn't know was that her ex-husband, Tom Mallory, had been waiting in the area, sitting in his vehicle and watching. As Crystal got into her car, Tom drove up beside her. There was no argument, no warning. In a matter of seconds, he opened fire, shooting multiple rounds through the passenger side window. Crystal was struck several times. Trapped inside her vehicle and gravely wounded, she had no chance to escape. She succumbed to her injuries right there, just steps away from the courthouse where she had come seeking justice and protection. Deputies stationed at the courthouse were notified of the shooting, but by the time they reached Crystal's car, it was already too late. They found her lifeless inside the vehicle. The scene sent shockwaves through the courthouse and the surrounding community, an act of deadly violence unfolding in broad daylight at a place meant to represent safety and the rule of law.
there are calls for justice after a woman was shot and killed outside the Spalding County Courthouse. Crystal Evans and her ex-husband, Tom Mallory, were at the courthouse Friday afternoon. They were there for a hearing when Mallory allegedly shot Evans a number of times, killing her. Investigators say he ran from police and eventually shot himself, but he survived.
Meanwhile, Tom Mallory fled the scene, driving east on Solomon Street. Police pursued him, and the chase ended when he pulled over. In what authorities later described as a desperate act, Tom shot himself in the head. Unlike Crystal, he survived. He was rushed to Spalding Regional Hospital, where he received medical treatment for his self-inflicted wound. The question that haunts this case is painfully simple. What goes through a person's mind when they believe they finally escaped their abuser, only to see his car pull up beside them one last time? Especially when that abuser had already been accused of trying to bury her alive. For the Griffin community, the shock quickly turned into grief, anger, and disbelief. In the days that followed, Crystal's daughter, Precious Evans, stepped into the spotlight, not just as a grieving daughter, but as an advocate determined to expose what she believes were systemic failures that led to her mother's death.
New tonight at 11, we're hearing from the family of a woman shot and killed outside of the Spalding County Courthouse. And tonight, the daughter of Crystal Evans says her mother did not have to die because she believes law enforcement actually dropped the ball because of a history of domestic violence between her mother and the suspect. 11 Alive, Teresa Bowles, live tonight in the newsroom with what we know tonight. Teresa?
Well, Ron, tonight authorities have identified the suspect as Mr. Tom Mallory. Adding to her pain, Precious Evans tells me Mallory is her biological father.
I mean, I feel like I don't have nobody.
Precious Evans says she lost both of her parents at the same time.
I don't have nobody to lean on.
She says she watched her comforter, her mother, Crystal Evans, go through an ugly divorce with her father for a year.
She was so happy after her divorce. She felt free. You know, we were even talking about doing a party.
However, throughout that year, she also says she witnessed disturbing behavior. Crystal posts a cry for help on Facebook last year saying, "Please know if something happens to me, Tom Mallory did it."
Even after the divorce, this man literally texted her, not happening.
Precious says her mother was at the Spalding County Courthouse for a hearing connected to their separation Friday afternoon.
The judge did issue a warrant. Instead of the judge taking him in right then and there, the judge said that he could turn himself in Monday night.
In a lengthy Facebook post, Sheriff Daryl Dix says Crystal walked out of the courthouse to her car where Mallory met her, shooting her multiple times from the window. Mallory did not stop for police and eventually shot himself. He's alive, but Evans is not, which Precious believes could have been prevented.
My mom literally called the sheriff department the day before because he was stalking her, and they did nothing. Had they had someone walked out with her, her friend asked, she would still be here.
Dix denies this. He says surveillance video shows Crystal never asked for an escort. His office also confirms there have been several domestic violence calls to the Mallory household. Dix says sometimes the violence was mutual and there were no witnesses to identify the aggressor. And since she can't get her mom back, Precious will honor her life by fighting for justice with no sympathy for her father.
Not once did you offer your condolences, sympathy, or anything for my mom. That post was to clean his face, to clear his name.
Precious says she's going back to the courthouse to rally for justice Wednesday and plans to hold a vigil for her mother on Thursday.
Yeah, such a heartbreaking story there, Teresa. Thank you.
Precious publicly criticized the Spalding County Sheriff's Office, saying they failed to take her mother's fears seriously, despite repeated warnings. According to Precious, Crystal had contacted the Sheriff's Department just one day before the shooting, asking for protection or an escort. She was afraid. She believed she was in danger. But Precious says her mother felt dismissed, as if her concerns weren't urgent enough to warrant action. That dismissal, Precious believes, cost her mother her life. Precious also openly criticized the judge's decision during the court proceedings to give Tom Mallory time to turn himself in instead of having him arrested immediately. To her, that pause was not a procedural detail, it was a fatal mistake. She believes that delay opened the door for everything that followed, creating the opportunity that ultimately led to her mother being shot. In Precious's view, the system didn't fail in just one moment. It failed again and again, with each decision piling onto the next until the outcome became tragically unavoidable. Precious has said that her mother never tried to hide the reality of her painful divorce from her children. Crystal spoke openly about what she had been through and about how much she was looking forward to starting over. After the divorce was finalized, her mood changed. She felt lighter. She felt hopeful. According to Precious, her mother was excited about building a new life that was finally her own. She was so happy after her divorce. She truly felt free, Precious said. We were even talking about having a party to celebrate. But that sense of freedom was short-lived. Precious revealed that just one day before the shooting, her mother reached out directly to the sheriff's department because Tom was stalking her. She was scared and asking for help. According to Precious, nothing was done. My mom literally called the sheriff's department the day before because he was stalking her, Precious said. And they did nothing. If they had simply had someone walk her out, like her friend asked, she would still be here today.
Dix says, quote, "Do improvements need to be made to the law? Yes, they do. Maybe it wasn't a deputy or my agency that failed. Maybe it was the law itself." And
as public criticism mounted, Spalding County Sheriff Daryl Dix issued a lengthy statement on Facebook defending his department. He denied certain claims, stating that surveillance footage did not show Crystal requesting an escort from deputies on the day of the shooting. He also addressed the complicated history between Crystal and Tom, explaining that law enforcement responses were often hindered by mutual accusations of violence. According to the sheriff, deputies had responded to several domestic violence calls involving the couple over the years. At times, Crystal accused Tom of assault and of pulling a gun on her. At other times, Tom claimed Crystal had hit or even shot at him. The sheriff described the relationship as deeply toxic and suggested that determining the primary aggressor was not always clear-cut. But this explanation raises a disturbing question. When a woman tells authorities that her ex-husband is trying to kill her, and he later does exactly that, who is accountable for the moments in between? Despite the devastating loss, Precious has not backed down in her fight for accountability. She continues to demand justice for her mother and refuses to stay silent. In response to a statement posted by the sheriff, Precious expressed her anger and heartbreak publicly, accusing the department of focusing more on protecting their image than acknowledging their failures. "You are literally just trying to clear your name," she wrote. "You failed my mom, you and your entire division. But I am going to get my mama the justice she deserves."
There are calls for justice after a woman was shot and killed outside the Spalding County Courthouse. Crystal Evans and her ex-husband, Tom Mallory, were at the courthouse Friday afternoon. They were there for a hearing when Mallory allegedly shot Evans a number of times, killing her. Investigators say he ran from police and eventually shot himself, but he survived. Now we're learning more from Crystal's daughter, who says her mother had a restraining order against her father. Griffin police confirm the couple had a history of domestic violence.
My mom literally called the sheriff department the day before because he was stalking her. She even showed them that the PTO that she was granted for life Wednesday from the divorce, and they did nothing. Had they had someone walked out with her, like, her friend asked, she would still be here.
Griffin police deny that Evans asked for an escort. Precious says she will hold a rally for justice Wednesday and a vigil for her mother on Thursday.
Despite her grief, she organized a rally at the courthouse and a vigil in her mother's honor, using those moments to demand accountability and change. She spoke openly about the relentless stalking and harassment her mother endured, how Tom showed up uninvited at homes and workplaces, spreading fear throughout the family. The emotional toll extended beyond Crystal, affecting her mother and her adult children as well.
They are angry with you because you have embraced your own individual uniqueness. As long as you dress like them, talk like them, think like them, here's your shout, and agree with them, then there's no problem. But the moment you are glad to be yourself, they think, how can I get rid of you? They either hate that you are not like them, or they hate that they can't be like you. I better say that again. They either hate that you are not like them, or they hate that they can't be like you. Would you just elbow your neighbor and say, that's it right there. I am one in a million. They are angry with you because you have embraced your...
Yet amid all that darkness, Precious also shared something deeply heartbreaking. In the days after finalizing her divorce, Crystal felt hopeful, relieved, free. For the first time in years, she believed the worst was behind her. She was looking ahead, planning her life beyond abuse. That contrast, the freedom Crystal felt versus the violence that followed, has become the most devastating part of this story. A woman who did everything right.
And let me just say this.
And a life cut short at the
God will
very moment
handle
she
those
believed she
who
was finally
mishandled
safe.
you.
A public service announcement. If you still wearing your natural hair in this day and age, if you still wearing your natural hair when everybody around you is buying it, you rare. I mean, you rare.
In the weeks leading up to her death, those closest to Crystal Evans say she was filled with a cautious but genuine sense of hope. According to her daughter, Precious, Crystal was eager to start over. She talked about celebrating her independence and marking the beginning of a new chapter, one defined not by fear but by freedom. After years of abuse, control, and emotional exhaustion, she believed she had finally escaped. But while Crystal was planning for the future, she was also documenting the dangers she knew hadn't fully disappeared. Beginning in February 2023, Crystal turned to social media, not for attention but out of desperation. Her posts became increasingly urgent, forming a digital record of what she was living through. She warned friends, family, and the public about the escalating threats she faced from her ex-husband, Tom Mallory. What started as concern quickly became alarm as her words painted a disturbing picture of stalking, harassment, and relentless intimidation. Crystal detailed how Tom followed her, showed up unannounced, and inserted himself into her life despite court actions meant to keep him away. His behavior didn't stop with her. It extended to her loved ones, creating an atmosphere of constant fear for her family. The emotional toll was heavy, not just on Crystal but on everyone around her. Her posts reflected exhaustion, anxiety, and a growing sense that she was being left to fend for herself. These messages were not casual updates. They were cries for help. Again and again, Crystal made it clear that she was trying to protect herself and her family while navigating what she felt was indifference from the very systems meant to safeguard her. Despite restraining orders, police reports, and documented warnings, she felt that decisive action never came. Each unanswered plea reinforced her belief that she was vulnerable and alone. And tragically, that fear was justified. Precious Evans has since made it her mission to ensure her mother's voice is not lost. In honoring Crystal's memory, Precious has become an advocate for systemic reform, speaking openly about the failures she believes led to her mother's death. She continues to ask the question many are now asking: how could someone issue so many warnings and still be left unprotected? Crystal herself seemed to understand the danger all too well. In her final social media posts, her words took on a chilling tone. She left behind what can only be described as evidence: explicit warnings stating that if anything happened to her, her ex-husband would be responsible. She was creating a record, hoping it would matter if she didn't survive. After her death, grief poured in from every corner of the community. Friends, former classmates, and local residents took to social media to express heartbreak and outrage. Many described Crystal's death as not only tragic but preventable. Brandy Bard, a member of the Spalding County community, publicly voiced her frustration, calling for justice and meaningful reform in domestic violence laws. She wrote that too many people continue to lose their lives to domestic violence while the system repeatedly fails them. Her message echoed a sentiment shared by many: this should never have happened. Another post, shared on X, formerly Twitter, came from someone who identified as Crystal's classmate. They wrote that Crystal had been pleading for help for over a year, warning that her ex-husband was stalking her. According to the post, she had reached out to Facebook, the police, the courts, and the city of Griffin, yet nothing stopped the violence. The message ended with a heartbreaking conclusion: Crystal's death was a tragedy that did not have to occur. At the heart of this case is a painful truth. The system failed to protect Crystal Evans from persistent stalking and credible threats. The lack of timely intervention allowed a dangerous situation to escalate unchecked. And that failure ultimately culminated in a senseless act of violence that robbed her of her life. For her family, the grief is layered. They are mourning Crystal, not only for who she was, but for who she was becoming. They are also grieving the missed opportunities, the moments when intervention could have changed everything.
This is not a regular girl. This is a girl who went through hell so that she could bring heaven into her family. This is not a regular woman. I speak against regular. I speak against normal. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. You got a personal relationship with God. He knows something about you that made him say, I need to set you apart. I need to sanctify you. And I thank you, God, that you're going to call this woman to invade culture.
Crystal's story now stands as a powerful reminder of the urgent need for reform in how domestic violence cases are handled. Her loved ones continue to mourn her loss while pushing for change, determined that her death will not be in vain. Their call for action resonates far beyond Griffin, amplifying both the pain of her passing and the resolve to protect others before it's too late. What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments, and click one of the videos on your screen to continue exploring stories that deserve to be told.